Hey guys, Blade 2 is directed by Guillermo Del Toro, and it once again stars Wesley Snipes as Blade. He's this half vampire hunter, nicknamed the Daywalker, who has all of the strengths of a vampire and none of the weakness. Pretty convenient. Okay, so Blade 2 is one of the rare comic book movie sequels, especially from the early 2000s, that was actually pretty decently good. That being said, is the movie very good? Like, as a movie? Yeah, kinda. Is it pretty cheesy and stupid and a little bit actually, like, legitimately dumb? Yeah. So, let's talk about the dumb stuff first. Some of the dialogue in this movie is just some of the worst, cheesiest stuff you'll ever hear. Uh, like, there are some legitimately horrible lines in this movie. That being said, though, they're delivered by actors who are taking this really seriously. And not only that, they're all really awesome actors who can make it work. Like, if half the lines in this movie were said by actors who weren't that good, it would be an Attack of the Clones situation where you have horrible actors delivering horrible lines, making those horrible lines way worse. Whereas with this movie, you have incredible actors saying horrible lines, making those lines better. Um, that's really it. Other than some of the dated CGI and some kind of weak story points, I don't really have many problems with Blade 2. Some of the things I legitimately loved. Wesley Snipes as Blade is just awesome. I hope they find a way to bring him back in the MCU because they have the rights to Blade back. And you know, it's one of those things where it's like you have a certain actor who played a certain role that even if it's like going to be just even if it's not gonna make sense and it's gonna be like a reboot of the character and a contradiction to the continuity where they already played the character, it'd just be great to have that character or that actor back. Uh Big example. J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, even though he played J. Jonah Jameson in the Sam Raimi films, if they're gonna do Jameson, they have to bring J.K. Simmons back. Even if it will like completely mess with some fans and confuse some people, they have to bring him back just as a rebooted version of the character, but at the same time it's he's perfect. So I really do hope they find a way to work Wesley Snipes into the MCU if they ever end up doing Blade. That being said, they never confirmed whether or not they were actually going to do anything with Blade. My best guess would be like a Netflix series because I think that's the closest we would ever get to Marvel really doing anything with Blade because Blade is a pretty dark R-rated character. And Netflix has been kind of where they've been doing more of that stuff. Still not going like fully R rated, but just doing more of the dark, more adult themed stuff. Other things I like. The supporting cast is great. You have Ron Perlman, for one, who gotta give it up to Ron Perlman. Ron Perlman is one of my favorite supporting actors of all time. He doesn't get a lot of lead roles, which is why I say he's one of my favorite supporting actors because he gets a lot of supporting actor roles especially in Guillermo del Toro movies. Guillermo del Toro and Ron Perlman are like best friends, I think. I don't know. I don't know much about Ron Perlman or Guillermo del Toro, like beyond just like the movies that they've been in and made. Beyond that, I don't really know much about them. They might actually be best friends in real life, but like I just know that there's a lot of Guillermo del Toro movies with Ron Perlman in them. Uh yeah, I love Ron Perlman. It's not my favorite role of his. He's had, in my opinion, I've had different roles of his that I favored over this one. Mainly, the one that comes to mind, the two that come to mind are obviously Hellboy, because who doesn't love Ron Perlman as Hellboy? Ron Perlman was great as Hellboy. And, um, Hannibal Chow from Pacific Rim, another Guillermo del Toro movie. I I love Pacific Rim. I will do a video on Pacific Rim soon when cuz the second movie comes out in February of 2018, so I got to watch the first one again. I haven't seen the first one in a while. Being sidetracked. Norman Reedus, Daryl from The Walking Dead is in this movie and he plays this pothead mechanic type guy. He's basically like Whistler's temporary replacement while he's off dead for the past couple years, but he's actually been being like moved around different vampire places. And honestly, I forgot the name of the villain, but the villain was pretty cool. I like the concept of him. I like how he's got like the predator thing going on with his face. And one of the people I was not expecting to be in this movie, I forgot he was even in this movie. Donnie Yen. I freaking love Donnie Yen. Um, you know, the only role of his that really pops into my mind at the moment is like, Rogue One, but and I haven't really seen any of his other movies, but I've seen some of his like martial arts footage and some clips of him in like the Ip Man movies. And I like I like his fighting style and choreography, and I like, he was a really good actor in Rogue One, so I like him as an actor, and he was a pretty good actor in this too. I really was surprised to see Donnie Yen in this movie, and the rest of the supporting cast wasn't all that memorable. No actors I really remembered specifically. No, but I just really legitimately love this movie. And another great thing, Guillermo del Toro directed this movie. I don't think Guillermo del Toro has done very many like franchise type movies beyond this and Hellboy. Um so especially for like a really well-known comic book property too, because with like Hellboy is a more obscure comic book character from a more obscure comic book company. This is Marvel. Marvel is the big one of the big guys in terms of comic books. So it's not exactly the kind of thing you would really expect from Guillermo del Toro, really. And this movie is directed so well. Guillermo del Toro, in his direction, he has this distinct style, and the style is here in this movie, and Guillermo knows how to do some pretty good horror imagery with some really good practical effects and some good visual effects. And that's pretty prevalent in this movie. There is some really, really cool horror type elements. And you just look at some of the makeup and stuff and some of the character designs, and it's just pure Guillermo. And I love it. That's one of the greatest things that I like about this movie is just the visual style and the way Guillermo del Toro stylizes and directs it. And if you didn't know it was a Guillermo Del Toro movie beforehand and you were kind of used to seeing his movies and you know his style, you would recognize it immediately. And I just really love this movie. I'm going to give Blade 2 an A minus. Couple minor flaws. Again, the script isn't perfect. The story, some story points aren't perfect.